Hi everyone, how are you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing well. I'm so excited. This week we are going to be talking about mental health in regards to Black men. So relax, get a cup of tea, get a snack, and I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as we do. And let us know what you think in the comments section. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, we have an amazing guest today with us. His name is Craig Davis, and he is a trained and licensed therapist. And he'll tell us a little bit about, himself. But, I just want to share a bit about, the topic and why we're having this conversation. 2 weeks ago, we kind of talked about, anger and aggression and things like that in Black men. And, we were able to learn, so much from that. But I think this week we want to go a bit deeper into understanding, what is going on in practice, what are the signs, causes, and things like that. Okay, perfect. Okay, can you hear me okay? Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay, so can you just, introduce yourself, let us meet you, let us get to know a little bit about yourself.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Lola. I'm Greg Davis. As Lola said, I am an accredited psychotherapist, a mental health therapist. I also am into premarital and marriage counseling as well. I my practice has spanned across working as a university student counseling service providing therapy for students here in Ireland. And then I moved to industry, so I work with a couple of companies that provide EAP, so that's Employee Assistance Program. I was there for several years, and during that time, the company I work with provided therapy for employees of most of the big tech companies, nearly all the big tech companies in Ireland and other corporations as well, insurance, banking, and all the tech uh, companies as well. So this actually brought me in touch with a wide variety of people, and it's interesting that, as Lola was saying, you will see more non. I mean, people who are of non-African descent who access therapy, they are more comfortable or yeah with that. And we also see people who are African descent who access therapy,
So I don't think we can hear you anymore. Are you still there? Okay, so I think his line just dropped off there. But so while he's gone, it's interesting, we'll ask him when he comes back. He basically said, there's not a lot of Black people that kind of access therapy, which was a question that I was going to ask him. But that is really interesting. And we're going to talk more about that shortly. Okay, so he's back. I'm going to add him back to the studio there. Okay.
I
Can
lost
you
you
hear me
there.
okay?
I
Yeah,
can,
that's
yeah.
fine. All right, I'll let you continue from where you stopped. No
Yeah,
problem.
so having worked in that space, I saw that one, men in general are less likely to access therapy, but men of African descent would really not coming. By the time they coming for therapy, a lot might have gone wrong. They may have been trying to deal with this over a long period of time. It's either something happened at home and you hear things like, well, my partner says that if I don't come start therapy, then the relationship is over. Those are the things. Or they go to the GP and the GP say, look, you need to, you know, go for therapy, or they have struggled with it. For some people, maybe this leads to some court issues, and then the judge, would insist that they'll go for therapy. So these are the patterns and the trends that I saw, And I got pretty concerned about, uh, our, let me say, our men of African descent who you could see obviously that they're struggling, but wouldn't access therapy. So, in brief, that's what my experience have been. You would see women more likely, coming in. Even when it comes to couples therapy, it's usually the women who initiate the couples therapy for them to access. So, in brief, that's what I like to say at the moment.
Yeah, that's fine. I think while you're something on top there, I was saying how, that was something I was gonna ask you in terms of,
Mhm,
black men or black people in general were just,
mhm,
they don't want
mhm,
to access therapy. But I
mhm,
want to ask you, why do you think that is? What's stopping
mhm.
them?
Lola, this is a multifaceted reasons for this. Some are very cultural, in the sense that, uh, when you go to most African countries, be it Nigeria or Ghana or Kenya or whatever, we don't have any word for depression or anxiety. Most of the words are descriptive. We don't have any word for panic attack. We don't have any word for OCD. Well, look, for years I've been doing this. I haven't had anybody who has successfully told me this is the word for it. They will use words like sad or worried to describe anxiety, disorder, to describe depression and all of that. So that's one. So because we come from a very collectivist culture, the West where we are, and Ireland and Europe and America is very individualistic. It has both strengths and its weaknesses. We come from a very collectivist culture. That also has its positives and negatives. Collectivist culture in the sense that we are more connected, we support each other. So for a long time, mental health issues back home from our home of origin wasn't as pronounced as it is right here. I don't know if I'm making sense here. So there's a lot of social support. So that's one. And by the way, the research shows that one third of uh, um, a person's social connections and social support system, friends, family members, neighbors, co-workers, and all of that contributes to one third of a person's mental health and well-being. That's a big number. So the type of relationships you are in, the type of friends you have, also play a very significant role. And so you can understand, uh, in our countries of origin, people will greet you. And I'm not Nigerian, but I know a few here. So you hear things like Ekaro, Shedadani, Iyawanko, Okoanko. They will ask questions about your wife, your husband, that in itself is a form of social connection. Back home, as you know, it is rude to pass by somebody and not greet the person, even if they are not related to you. But here, it's weird. People might think, who is this creep greeting me? Where do I know you from? You get me? So when people arrive here, the smile, that beautiful white smile that we had, slowly and gradually begin to fade away, and it leads to significant feeling of loneliness and isolation. So let me put it this way. Um, in this area, social connection is no more there. Even back home, social connection is fading because now people are into this hustle life. The other thing too is the belief that something or some spirit is causing mental health, because we don't see it as malaria, we don't see it as fever. There's this belief that if somebody having mental health is either now God they punish you, right? It's either that God is punishing you, or you may have done something, or there's this mysterious understanding of mental health. So then it comes with a huge stigma. Now, because mental health was not very common, the only people that, you know, people knew to have mental health were the ones who had actually had complete psychiatric problem breakdown, who are either walking over there. So when we talk about mental health, that's the picture that people have in mind. They don't see that difficulty sleeping, irritability, you know, difficulty concentrating, holding your keys in your hand and still searching the house, looking. These are stress related issues that, if not attended to, could, increasingly become a problem. The other thing too is faith. That people believe that, you know what, God can do anything. God will do all things. So just pray. In fact, I co-authored a book that says, I have God, I don't need a therapist. And you go on Amazon, you can find it. People believe that, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, right? And as a result, I don't need help from anybody. And you hear people say, why should I go and sit in front of somebody? But I remind people who are Christians that the night before Jesus' crucifixion, he went into the Garden of Gethsemane with three of his closest disciples. And if you read that account in Mark 14, Jesus uses some very clear language that if me as a clinician, I hear it today, I need to put some risk interventions in place. Jesus said, I am distressed to the point, and I'm quoting nearly verbatim, I am distressed to the point of death. Stay here and watch with me. So that was the first thing. And then he went forward and prostrated and prayed and said, Abba, Father, let this cup pass over me, but not my will, but yours. And then after a while, he came back and saw the disciples completely asleep. He woke them up and said, couldn't you watch with me for just an hour? For me, as a clinician, what is the experience? What is the wisdom there? Number one, Jesus knew what he was going through. He had at least three close, trusted friends that he could open up to, and he poured out his heart. Now I'm talking about the same man who rose, who resurrected the dead, who gave sight to the blind, the lame could walk. But now he said, I am distressed to the point of death. It was a lesson to us that there's a place for psychology and mental health and counseling. Jesus sought that psychosocial support before he went forward to pray. In fact, even during the prayer, he stopped and came back to check whether he was still getting that support, from his friends. But we looked at it from a completely different place. Prayer, are you getting my point? So there are cultural issues, there are, religiosity issues, there are societal problems such as you are a man, be a man, don't cry. You need to be tough, you need to be like a man. And all of that, unfortunately, has forced men into a certain mold box, and they've all contributed to this. And just to add this to it, for those who are in this part of the world, there are several issues that might be slightly different from those from the general one, and there are several issues about this. Racism contributes to men's mental health, especially people of African descent. Discrimination contributes to a lot of this. The stigma, because Black people wear their difference outside. Listen, when you see, if you wouldn't know somebody is gay or lesbian unless they tell you. And even if you see their mannerism, you may be wrong. But Black people, we wear our difference outside. People see you that you are Black, and they judge you before you even get there. Racism and discrimination contributes to contributes to a significant percentage of people's mental health. The other thing too is that when I say discrimination, it even comes in the system, discrimination in the workplace, discrimination in housing system, the economic inequalities. They are numerous, and they all affect somebody's mental health and well-being. Now, when you move from a very collectivist culture like back, your home of origin, where everybody, aunties, uncles, nephew, nieces, you see everybody. In fact, you call any elderly person uncle or auntie, all right? And then you move to this place in this culture where it is completely different. It is, if you are here alone, you are on your own. or you and your nuclear family. Nobody cares. Your next door neighbor doesn't even want to know your name. So all of this migration to a different culture, all of that contribute to causes of people's mental health problem. And when that happens, sadly, people begin to use very maladaptive negative coping strategies like substance abuse, or excessive screen time and scrolling and all of that, or poor eating habits, or poor sleeping habits and all of that. The last thing I want to add today, which is also part of the problem, is expectations of families back home. Working and sending so much money back home, and sometimes not even taking time to look after yourself properly. I'm not saying you shouldn't look after or support people back home, but while you are at it, put yourself on top of your own priority list, because you are all you've got. And if anything happens today, you're going to struggle. And sadly, the people you may be fighting tooth and nail for might not even be there to support you, even if they want to. There are numerous, there are numerous causes of this, and maybe as time we can add a bit more to it.
Yeah, oh my gosh. That even the one you've just named already, I'm like, wow. Compared to, like, the white people, there's already like a
Yeah,
lot, that
yeah.
we're facing, sadly. But I kind of wanted to I love all the stuff that you've just touched on, the
Mm-hmm,
cultural differences, social isolation, workplace, just there's just so many differences. And it's funny because
mm-hmm,
as a black woman, I have
yeah,
experienced each of
mm-hmm,
these things that you've
yeah,
mentioned. But
yeah.
as I'm thinking, I'm like, for a black man, it's even more, like you said, the
Absolutely. Yeah.
expectation is even more. And I'm just like, oh God, just help us. But I want you to just quickly touch on the whole expectation thing, just to kind of draw
Yeah.
out a bit of help for someone out there right now.
Mm-hmm,
Because when I was in the UK studying, there was a
mm-hmm,
lot of international students from Nigeria, from Kenya, from all over the
mm-hmm,
world, right?
mm-hmm,
And when I would do part-time work while I'm studying as well, and a lot of them, I'll hear conversations and they will say things to me like, oh, you make sure you work really hard and study really hard so that you can help your family back home or bring your family back home and stuff. But I had to say, oh, actually, I don't have family back home. Like, I just have my grandma and she wants to stay back home, but my family's here.
mm-hmm,
But I always
mm-hmm.
found it very weird, like, why it's already stressful going to uni, studying part-time, doing
Yeah,
internship. Now I'm meant to have this added pressure of remember back home,
yeah,
remember,
yeah.
it's like you're not even finished graduating and the pressure's
Mm-hmm,
already
mm-hmm,
there. Remember, as
mm-hmm,
you're working, the more you're getting.
mm-hmm,
So I
mm-hmm,
want you to kind of help someone out there and just
mm-hmm.
advise them how can they kind of reduce that or break away from that, because
Yeah.
a lot of people will tell you, oh, what do you want me to tell them? I can't tell my mom no. I can't tell my sister no. I can't tell my uncle no. They sponsored me here. They helped me to put my papers
Mm-hmm,
together. But
mm-hmm,
this thing is affecting, like, I have so many stories of people who
mm-hmm,
I don't know them personally, but I've just heard of what has happened because that pressure. You're trying to pay your bills, you're trying to pay your rent, you're trying to pay this and that. And then you're still thinking, oh, I have to send 40 to this, I have to send 20 to this, I have to send 10 to this. People back home don't understand it. But for
mm-hmm.
people's mental health, especially for
Yeah.
men, because I think men, they have it even worse. How can they reduce that,
Yeah.
or how can they, push back a bit?
That's an excellent question, Lola. And before I answer your question, let me give you a little background to this whole issue of acculturation, as we call it. There are four typical ways that a person will move from their country and settle in another country. So, number one, even the expectation that you have of yourself and the expectation that are being set from back home already sets the tone for the whole problem to start. Oh, we are sending him or her abroad so that, okay, so that is that. And by the way, because of our collectivist culture, Even aunties have and uncles have as much power or influence like your own parents. So the problem goes way back. Your mom can call your auntie and say, "Talk to Lola, talk to Lola." Are you getting me? Instead of a parent just taking the responsibility. So uh, the collectivist culture is very helpful in the sense that there's a mutual and communal support, but it can lead to boundary violations. It can lead to family members violating, or leading to an unexpected, it can lead to an unhealthy, irrational expectation of people. If you're going to go back to your home country now and you even bought a t-shirt for somebody, they'll ask you, "Oh, so you came all the way and it's just a common t-shirt that you bought for me?" So there's that unfortunate sense of entitlement that is there. Let me give you just this quick one, and I'll answer your question real quick. So I said there are 4 ways a person may choose to live in a new country. Four ways. One is what we call separation. Separation is where somebody comes here and they are separated from their host culture. So let's say Ireland, and they are more attached to their home culture. The moment they get here, they are still keeping the phone number they brought from home on WhatsApp, at least. Right? And they are constantly they get panicky just putting away that and using their Irish or whatever UK number for everything. They hold on to it and they are chatting with the people back home. They know all the politicians back home, but they don't know the TD in their community. They can tell you who is contesting for what area and everything. So the separation, they're very, very attached to their home culture instead of their host culture. And then we have, second one, we have assimilation. Assimilation is that for whatever reason, the person comes and blends in. So let me backtrack. When it comes to separation, you hear, people don't have connection with the culture here. They don't have any Irish friends, for example. They don't eat Irish food. They don't know, they don't blend in the Irish culture or Irish music and all of that. It's all everything back home. The only friends they have are the people who look like them or sound and dress and eat and talk like them. And then the assimilation is this: the person comes and completely overlooks, forget their home culture and totally embraces the host culture. But if the host culture is not very welcoming to you, that can be very difficult as well. Again, if you're the type who you wear your difference outside as a Black person. So if the host culture, people around are not opening up to welcome you, that could be a difficult one. Then there is the third one. Forgive me, that just escaped me, but I can describe it. The third one is where the person is neither identifying with their home culture or their host culture. The reason there could be many various reasons. Maybe they are fleeing from war, from back home, and they don't want to connect, but they are so different that they cannot say they are Irish. So you have that. And then you have the fourth one, which is the healthiest way to live. And if you probably have opened your ears, you may have heard that a lot of the time. The uncommon name for that is biculturalism. And this is where you embrace both your home culture and your host culture. The common word we use for it is integration. So you integrate, you get, you probably might hear the Minister for Integration and what. Okay, so this is where you hear like, I'm Nigerian Irish or Irish Nigerian, I'm Irish Ghanaian, I'm Irish Zimbabwean. So you're saying that I recognize my past, I embrace my present, and the research has shown that that's the healthiest way to live in an environment. Now, if you embrace your culture here very well, then what you need to do now is establish yourself here. The problem is that many people came here thinking I'm only here to hustle. So they have put up big mansions back home while they're living in that little box in somewhere in Dublin. Okay, so our actions here may cause a problem, but it's important to be comfortable with no. Be comfortable with a healthy no. And remember that your family here come first. They come first. And people will, whatever picture you put out there, that's how people are going to be treating you and be responding to you. So know what your needs are, set clear boundaries. Now, when I say clear boundaries, people, the word boundary has been bounded about a whole lot that has very negative connotation these days. But we have different types. We have rigid boundary where nobody comes to you, you're not flexible. Then we have the porous boundary where even 2 a.m. people can call you. There's no rule that no, Greg is asleep by now. It's 10 p.m. No, no, no. So your boundary is so porous. People can ask for money, can ask for loan and not pay back, and you're afraid to ask for them to pay back and all of that. Then we have a healthy boundary. So with healthy boundary, you can say no and feel okay about it. And it's important to know why you're saying no is important. It's for your own good, it's for your own safety, it's also for your own well being. But you can also say yes without harming yourself. So, boundary doesn't mean that you just refuse anything. But even if you cannot help, you can give an alternative response to them. Oh, I'm sorry, this month is not very good, but give me the next 3 months. When I get something, I'll get back to you. But some people, they cannot say no. They can even borrow or go for a loan and send to people. You're not helping yourself. You are setting yourself up for serious trouble. If you don't tell people your need, they will think you always have it. Now, if you don't stop me, I'm going to keep going on because it's a lot there.
Yeah.
You can tell.
No, you're all right. I'm absolutely loving it because this area, oh my gosh, a lot of
Yeah.
people are in bondage to it, and I nearly fell victim to it myself. But thankfully, I think maybe
Mm,
because I was raised here, I'm less attached.
yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, no, you know. But I also want to draw something out
Yeah.
of this. So you're
Absolutely.
telling us to
Yeah.
say you're telling us to say no and be okay with saying no. But I had a conversation with someone about this, and something that, I drawed out of it was the consequences of saying no. Because sometimes there's kind of like this social consequence of saying no, if you get what I mean. Like, so you say no to your auntie, you say no to your
Mhm,
maybe your siblings or
mhm,
your friend, and they're like, oh, on the phone to you, they're like, don't worry, I understand. You said in 3 months, say next month, no problem. And then they hang up the phone with you, and then they go and call the elder in your family. They go and call your father. They go and call your mother. They start trouble basically, and start telling people things that you did not say,
mhm,
right? And then maybe other people in the family or in the community, they start, seeing you in a bad light. I think a lot of people, they fear being seen in a bad light, or they fear like, oh, people are not going to think that I'm this place. Because, one thing that you said is, to be conscious about the image that you're projecting. But some people feel like, well,
mhm.
I have to project that image, even if it's false, because I'm going to be disrespected. My children will be disrespected if I don't. So I don't know if there's anything you can, kind of say on that, because I can just hear someone thinking, I can't do what he's saying. I can't say no. I don't want to be exercised. I don't want to be disrespected. I want to be respected. So is there anything you can say?
So that's a good question. First and foremost, the way you say your no matters a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, like I said, when it comes to assertive communication, is that you are taking care of, you are paying attention to your own need and also respecting the other person's needs. So, for example, um, um, oh, Auntie, I'm so sorry. I just have to, I have to pay for a new. We just moved house to a new place, and I need to put down some payments and all of that. I'm not able to help at this moment, but when things improve, I definitely will reach out. to you. So you are not, you're saying no, but you're not shutting the door. That when things improve, you will reach out. You give me up to about the next 3, 4 months. The thing is that you have a very legitimate reason, and if they decide not to, in fact, let me put it this way: when you are setting boundaries, it's important to remember that your boundaries sometimes may align with the people around you, or may be very unique, and as a result, it may not be aligned with theirs, and you should expect that there's going to be either some pushback or some negative reaction. Is there? It's normal. Normalize it. Normalize it. Expect it that this is what would happen. So when I say boundaries, boundaries are simply rules, limits, and expectations we set in a relationship. So this is how I put it. So you can be close enough to love and care for your people, but distant enough to self-care. Be so you set rules and expectation in a relationship so you can be close enough to be part of the family and support when you can, but distant enough to look after yourself and practice self-compassion. Remind yourself why this is necessary. Sometimes we forget that. Remind yourself that you deserve to care for yourself. You deserve to look after yourself, because if today you break down, all those helps you've given in the past or you're going to give in the future will not exist. The other things you need to do is this: remind yourself of the help you've given in the past. Remind yourself, write it down. In what ways have I been of help to this uncle or auntie or family members in the past? Because if you forget, and people do forget, as long the day you stop, you feel like you're the bad person. And if you don't do that, if you never say no and you never set those boundaries, it's never ever going to change. So feel comfortable with that. Talk to somebody if you're struggling with it. Talk to somebody. This is how I am feeling. But remember, and also one important question I say you ask yourself is, ask yourself, if my best friend was in this same situation and was having this feeling and worry about what the extended family would say, what would I say to my best friend? Especially when I'm at my best and my best friend is struggling. Write all the answers you say to your best friend now, and then ask yourself, how does this or should this apply to me? And hopefully you begin to understand your feeling and your worry will be put in the right place.
I'm just trying to mute my mic there. Yeah, absolutely. I think what I'm hearing from you is you need to be comfortable. You need to be okay to sit with that feeling of,
Mhm,
that pushback that you're saying, and knowing that it's gonna happen, because you can't be
mhm,
saying yes, yes, and all of a sudden you say no and you expect no reaction. So I think that's a great answer
mhm,
there. Just
mhm,
expect a reaction, but also, do all these things he's saying, write
mhm.
down all the things you've done in the past, put yourself in another person's shoes. And,
Yeah,
I think that's a very definitely a great answer for someone who needs it there. So thank you
yeah.
for that. Okay, so I kind of want to move into what is going on in the Black community, in
Mhm,
maybe relationships, because I know you're also a relationship therapist as well. So our Black men, a lot of, I'm
mhm,
sure you
mhm.
know this, in the UK, there's this uproar going on at the moment where women are calling the police for the men, the Black men, because of, abusive behavior. Whether it's true or false, we don't know, but this is what is kind of happening. So I want you to kind of speak on what you're seeing in, I know you said you're not seeing a lot of Black people, a lot of black, maybe a lot of Black
Mhm.
couples, but in from your practice, can you share with us what are the common things that are showing up? So, you don't have to mention names, of course, but what are the kind of most, maybe the top three things that are showing up for you?
Well, so let me start first with the men's mental health, and then I maybe we'll talk about what's happening in the relationships and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as I said, a lot of people feel that when you talk about mental health, they think, "Oh God, no, not me. This is not in our family." Some people say, "God forbid, it can happen to me," and they say all of that. Okay, so it is there. One of the some of the most common mental health issues among the men who come will be stress. Severe stress is one, but the most common one is depression. Depression is very, very common among men. Anxiety is there. You come across a few of addictive behaviors, so some, getting addicted to some stuff. But the other common one is burnout, especially among high functioning professionals. So I have specialized in helping uh, providing burnout therapy for high functioning professionals. So you see that. The other one is, so the stress also come as a result of the expectation, either family expectations, societal expectation, extended family expectations, and all of that. But there's also the expectation of one's self. I'm a man, I'm the man, I need to, do this, instead of, people collaborating together with either their partners, their spouses to work together. They take on such an unhealthy responsibility, and soon there's a problem. Now, over here, increasingly, are becoming, men are becoming increasingly lonely and isolated because they are not having friends, and they are not making time to schedule fun and enjoyable activities, apart from maybe over the weekend where there's some miliki somewhere. All right, and then maybe there's a drinking and smoking, but like going for the walk, exercising, you know um connecting and hanging around with friends, not necessarily drinking and all of that, but some enjoyable, healthy, wholesome social activities, just having that moment to laugh. For some people, it's about work, work, work from morning till evening, and when they come home, it's either they're on their phone or the laptop or TV. So there's really nothing healthy there. Really nothing healthy. They are not taking time to eat properly and all of that. Now, let me break something down here. In the UK, for example, 87% of rough sleepers on the street are men. Over 70 something percent of suicide victims are men. Men are more likely to commit suicide. And suicide is the highest among men between 40 to 49. That's when the pressure really builds up. So we're talking about very serious matters. Now, let's bring that to the family home and the marriage and people calling the police. And I tell people, if your partner beats you or threatens to beat you up, please seek help immediately. I'll not be the one that, and then we frown against those things if the woman is seeking for support, if they feel that they are threatened. But let me also put it this way. There is no female depression or male depression. But there are some symptoms of depression that are very specific or common among men. And unfortunately, certain clinicians, this kind of get lost under the radar. So over the past couple of years now, when we do an assessment and stuff and we see that this is what it is, we tackle it. And so some of these symptoms that are very common to men, I'm going to explain it so you understand why there is anger, there is fight, and then the women, some of them feel threatened and they have to call the police. So we use the acronym RAISE, RAISE. Each letter represents a particular type of symptom of depression that is common among men that goes sometimes undiagnosed or unnoticed. The R stands for risk taking. All of a sudden, the man is jumping the red light. All of a sudden, he's driving 50 to 60 kilometers per hour in a 30-kilometer road. All of a sudden, they are beginning to do some very risky stuff. When you begin to see these changes in your life, or you're noticing somebody, a brother or sister, you need to start drawing the attention to that. The letter A in RAISE stands for anger. being irritable, being angry, being frustrated, and little thing you get snappy and irritated and all of that. It could be a symptom of depression among unique to men or very common among men. Now listen to the next one. I stands for isolation. So suddenly she's not going to church. The person who used to say, "Oh, let's go," suddenly doesn't want to connect with friends. He's isolating and alone. That's another sign. He comes back from work. He's either in his room or in the corner somewhere, or parks a car in front of the house. Stays in that car for a long time before enters. How are you? Fine. How was work? Okay. Is everything okay? I say I'm fine. So they're isolating themselves. They're getting upset and the kids say daddy is coming. Everybody suddenly is busy, kind of hides and all of that. That is a problem. The S stands for substance abuse. Now don't get me wrong, it is not, when I say substance abuse, I'm not just talking about narcotics. It could be suddenly drinking excessively, suddenly having to need a glass or whatever of whiskey or gin before they eat. Suddenly, TGIF becomes a time for drinking a lot. It could also be waking up in the morning and the first thing you go for is 2-3 cups of coffee, black coffee, to be able to function. When this start happening, you should start paying attention. Then the last letter in raised, which is E, stands for exhaustion. So physical exhaustion without, body aches and pains and tiredness without any physical basis. These risk-taking, anger, isolation, substance abuse, exhaustion are very, very common. And sometimes some men experience discrimination, they are upset, but they don't realize that some of these things they are going through is depression. And when that happens, guess who bears the brunt? The person closest to you, the person who loves and cares about you, the person with whom you vowed and said, for better or for worse, till death do us part. So now, Lola, you can understand why some of these things are happening. Now, sometimes the person might suggest that let's talk to pastor, let's talk to our mentor. No, I don't want to go and sit in front of another man to tell them my problem. And that's why I remember at the beginning I told you that some men don't go for therapy until maybe something happens. They're taken to court before the judge says, or the lawyer suggests that this person may be dealing with something, and they will refer the person to go and see a psychologist. So all of these are interconnected. When people are stressed out, when people are going through depression or experiencing some mental health issues, they are not able to sit down and resolve those common issues that typically they would have resolved. And research also shows that 85% of men in heterosexual relationship stonewall. They will shut down, they will tune out, they will turn away. And then the person, the woman there will think that my husband, my partner is deliberately punishing me and ignoring me. Are you okay? Fine. Are you hungry? No. Is everything okay? What do you think? So mental health plays a lot of role in this. Remember, you have left a collectivist culture. The other thing too is that when we move to this environment, people don't realize that the culture back home is different here. The system is structured that you have to adapt. Some women can't adapt. Let me put it this way, may over-adapt. Some men just can't live with the fact that this is a different culture. If my wife has to leave very early in the morning and go to work and come back late, I may need to help maybe with the dishes or put something on the fire and all of that. Or when I come home early, I've crossed my leg and channel surfing. My wife will get home 8 o'clock from her shift, and then they say, what food is in the house? And all of that. The other thing that also happened is that some people don't make use of the right services. If you're depending on your friend who is not married to give you marital advice, if you're depending on your friend who is not a therapist, or you're not making use of the professional services there, some may give you advice that may not be helpful to you. And it's as simple as that. And And then that can also, unfortunately, instead of resolving the issue, ends up inflaming the issue and causing more problem. And by the time you realize, you feel that you are at risk. Oh, of course, but I'm also aware of those instances where people, because they're here, they got their purpose suddenly, and the women think, oh, social will help you, and there are charities that will help you. So when you call the police, the man is put in trouble. You'll be taken care of because the law somehow, in some way, are more tilted to favoring the women. So there are those very, very few people who actually exploit their marriages for self gain. They've not shifted from what is good for me to what is good for us. So people become very self centered in the marriage, and it's all about what is good for me, me, and myself, and that becomes a problem. Instead of focusing on what is good for us, what can we do together to resolve the issue? So I hope that I've answered that question a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. You have definitely over answered it. Like I've noted a few things down, and I'm definitely gonna go over it after we finish this
Mhm.
recording. Absolutely amazing, amazing, amazing. Like I have some questions, but I'm like, you've just answered you've just answered a lot of them. But I wanted to quickly ask, as we're rounding up
Mhm.
now, can boredom be a sign of mental health issues? Because you find situations where maybe someone is saying, you are bored. And, I don't understand this because I'm the kind of person, I'm an introvert, but I don't feel bored. I know it sounds weird, but I find that there's always something to do for me. Even if I'm by myself, I just know how to, if it's, put on music and start dancing, if it's to read something, if it's to listen, like I just have a way of enjoying spending time alone. But
Mhm.
I've heard
Mhm.
over, I'm 30 years, you hear men say, oh, I'm so bored, I'm extremely bored. And it starts to affect the relationship, because it's like, if you like, go to Kilimanjaro, if you like, go bungee jumping, you do all these activities. But then you still hear the person saying they're extremely bored. And you're thinking, is this a mental health issue or have they just not found something that they love? So can you
Mm.
kind of touch on that a little bit?
It could be both. It could be both, really. But and again, when you and I want to say this to our ladies, when you hear your man repeated saying, "I'm bored," please pause and ask, how long has this been going on? If this has been going on for up to 2 weeks or more than 2 weeks, they need to seek help.
Mm.
So sometimes boredom could also be isolation and loneliness.
Um,
You can be in a relationship and feel lonely. You can be in a crowd and feel lonely. So
yeah.
there's several reasons for this. Now, what is loneliness? Loneliness is that longing to belong,
Mm.
longing to connect. What do I mean? One of the ways to overcome loneliness is intimacy. Now, I know. When the moment I say intimacy, people are thinking, oh, I was talking about sex. No, there are several of them. An intimate relationship require at least three ingredients: being vulnerable, being vulnerable, but safe enough to share at least these three things. Having somebody you can share your thoughts, your feelings, and your needs. So if you have a wife, a fiance, or a girlfriend, you cannot share your thoughts, your feelings, and your needs. Where your partner listens without judgment, listens with empathy and compassion, and say, "I'm sorry you're going through this. What can I do to help?" You could be in that relationship and still be very, very lonely, and it's happening. A lot of marriages are there and they are lonely. Now, let me quickly add this to it. And one of the reasons why people are not open and vulnerable enough to share their thoughts, feelings, and needs is this: it's about poor communication. Now, many people do what we call so there are two types when it comes to relationship. We have instrumental communication, and that is exchanging factual information and getting feedback. Hey, I'll be going to Don's store at 12. Do you need anything? Lunch will be ready at 5 or 6. Well, lunch starts around one, let's say 1 o'clock. Or listen, I'll be closing, I'll be getting home at 6 p.m. Have we paid for the bill? So these are factual information that we exchange. And it's common in many relationships and marriages and families and all of that. And many people are stuck there. They don't take that communication to another level. And this is what we call the affective communication. The affective communication is where you communicate at the emotional level. You talk about your feelings, you talk about sadness, your joy, your worries, and all of that. And your partner also listening without judgment and actually responding appropriately. I'm sorry this is happening. How long has this been happening? What could help? How can I help? Do we need to talk to the GP? And or maybe would you consider therapy? We need to really normalize therapy in our relationships, in our homes. So if you're able to communicate at the affective level, you'll be able to talk about your needs. You'll be talking about your feelings. You'll be able to talk about share your thought. That is where the bonding comes in. That is where the bonding comes in. But sometimes people come home and you're like, "Ah, how are you? It's not easy. What happened? Oh, my manager, the way my manager was talking to me at work today." If the first word that comes out of your mouth is, "What did you do? Why did you what did you do for your manager to be yelling at you?" What does that mean? You're already condemning and judging this person. We need to learn empathy and compassion. I'm so sorry that this manager would treat you this way. This is not the first time, right? I think you said this before that she did that. Why? Why did she do this? That's not right. What can I do to help? Why do you think they're doing that? But if you say, "What did you do?" Really, do I have to do something for somebody to be mean to me? When you do that, you've already shut the door. Listen empathically, listen compassionately, and be nice. And once we open that door, that person who said they are bored, they could be feeling lonely. They might even be describing depression, for all you know. And be a trustworthy partner. So if they say, "Oh, I'm having suicidal thought." Tofiakwa, your hands are up already. And you are all over the place. In Jesus' name, I rebuke this. No. When you do that, you shut the person down. So being very empathetic is very, very, very important to make the men begin to open up and normalize things. And by the way, let me say this to my men. Hey, buddy, it takes a strong man to say, "I need help." Yeah. It takes a courageous man to say, "I can't keep going on like this. I think I need to talk to Greg. I think I need to talk to my pastor. I think I need to talk to my church elder. I think I need to talk to my friend." Takes courage to admit. But if you keep going and being the tough man, we all know you've accomplished a lot already. You don't have to carry this burden forever. There is help all around. There are free services even in Ireland that you can just ring. There's a Samaritans, um, 116123. You can just call that toll free. There's Pieta House. That is 1-800-247-247. You can just talk to somebody if you're struggling. Or talk to pastor. Some of you are employed in companies that have what we call EAPs, Employees Assistance Program, that your company has paid for. You may have up to 6, 8, 10, 12 sessions for free. Make use of these services. They are there for you for free. You don't have to pay, and it is confidential. Nobody's going to tell anybody over there. The day your counselor will breach that, then they have trouble. So make use of them. There are other men's group. I know of the Hundredfold Collective, which is an all Black people, professionals coming together. And I've gone there to do presentations for them. They meet in Dublin every month. They have excellent stuff. They support people. They talk about mental health. They talk about business. They talk about stress from back home. They talk about extended family members, in-laws. The Hundredfold Collective. I love those guys. And shout out to Stephen and his team. They're doing an incredible job. They're helping entrepreneurs, people who are into startups, Black women and men. Join them, do something, go to church, join some social activities and all of that. Join that weekend football team, the people who play on the field there and all of that. Do something lovely. Don't isolate yourself. And I have some 4 hours. If you give me 1 minute to just share those 4 hours. So the 4 hours are this routine. Have a routine, have a plan, consistent, eat at the same time, go to bed at the same time, go exercise, movement at the same time. Have the brain is comfortable with predictability. Have a plan. For some people, the moment the weekend comes, oh gosh, yeah, long weekend. The second R stands for release. Journaling can help. Boxing can help. Talking, even if the problem will not be fixed, helps a lot. Therapy can help. Football, running, all of that can help to release it. The third R is relationships. Men need safe, shame-free connections. Shame-free connections. By the way, the research shows that most men say about 40 something percent of men say they are more comfortable opening up about their mental health to their intimate partners. So, sister, your man needs you. You know, your man needs you. And the last letter R. So we have routine, release, relationships, and reflection. Sometimes take time to reflect. What's my purpose? Why am I here? What am I feeling? What thoughts are going through my mind right now? What do I need to do today? What's the best thing to do right now with the way I'm feeling? Why can't I focus my attention right now? What have been my winnings, my victories, my successes? And it's not just, and who can I call? Who can I fall on right now? Even Jesus had three close people he could open up to, and he was able to pour his heart to them. So look after yourself. You can check up on me online, gregclaydavis.org, or contact Lola, and she can connect you with me. Even if for me to have a 15 minutes free chat with you to give you brief support, we need each other.
Sorry about that. Just trying to put my mic on. Amazing. Oh my gosh. You've said a lot there, and there's just so many things you've covered. Thank you so much. I will make sure I take as much of the information I can out just to kind of put it there so that, they can get the information if they don't want to, like, be known or contact me.
Mm-hmm,
So this is the last question, and it's not really a personal one, but I just feel like someone else might be going through
mm-hmm,
or might be going through this, okay? And then we'll just call in the day because there's just a lot there, which I'm really, really grateful for. So, just being honest and transparent. A few
mm-hmm,
years ago, I was in a situation where someone very close to me, so I found out that they were contemplating suicide.
mm-hmm,
So I found out through their searches, the thing they were like looking up and da da da, that they were they were thinking about it. Now I was very young then, so my initial reaction was to freeze. I freezed up and I didn't know what to do
mm-hmm,
because this person for like months they had been like very aggressive, not aggressive, but they were just very snappy, very irritable, so I didn't know how to bring it up to them. So I think I tried to just act like, oh, is everything okay, are you fine and stuff, and I was immediately shut down, like you mentioned earlier. Immediately, oh yeah, I'm fine, very one word, two words here and there. Until this day, I still felt like I didn't do enough. Thankfully, the person is still alive, but I still feel like I didn't do enough. But now, being 30 years old, and there might be someone watching this, right? Because
mm-hmm,
each time we have a session like this, we always have, people who kind of come behind the, social media and come and say
mm-hmm,
the real truth. So there might be someone watching this right now who maybe it's, their friend, their partner, their brother, their sister is contemplating suicide and they don't know how to even begin. And they might have even initiated, oh, why not speak to Greg? Why not speak to this person? Why not let's go to Pastor? They've shut everything down, and you're worried sick about this person. how what would be your advice there? What do we do? What can we do in that case?
First and foremost, sorry to hear what you went through, and let me also come clean, Lola. Just 2 weeks ago, I lost my sister to suicide,
Oh, oh my God. I'm so
and
sorry.
she was buried this weekend on
Oh.
Saturday. My big sister, she wasn't here in another country, so you can imagine that me as a practitioner, not being able to help. And I can tell you, suicide is a serious thing. Suicide is a
Mm,
serious thing.
mm,
Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Maybe I need to say that again. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. That's one. Suicide never resolves the problem, it only magnifies the problem and gives it to the people who love you the most. By the time somebody is contemplating suicide, they have gotten to a point where there's a high level of hopelessness and helplessness. The high level of hopelessness and helplessness. Now, what are some? It's difficult sometimes to tell the signs that somebody is considering suicide, having suicidal thought or suicidal ideation. So it's important that we really pay attention to each other. When you are noticing significant changes, such as you saw, either the person's dressing has changed, suddenly they are dressing very heavily, or suddenly they're letting themselves go. Or you hear them say, "What is this life? Things are too hard. I'm tired. I don't. I just wish I could die." Don't don't say things like, "Oh, come on, get out of it from there." Pause and say, "Did you just say dying?" And ask them directly. Sometimes the myth is that if you ask somebody directly, you drawing their minds to it. No, you actually demystify it. Wait, are you thinking of killing yourself? Ask them directly. It's important to ask directly so that they know that, okay, you can talk about it. If you suddenly see that they're giving away their valued, possessions, suddenly, "Oh, I need money," and then they dip their hand into their pocket. "Okay, yeah, take." And it's not usual of them. Suddenly they're giving their phones away, they're giving their whatever away, they're giving things away without caring about it. That
mm,
should be a red flag for you. If at home, suddenly they become
mm,
excessively organized, which is not usual of them. They suddenly lay in the bed, they're putting things in place and other things. Just say, "I noticed that there's a significant change these days. Can you tell me what is going on? I know this is good, but I'm a bit concerned," and all of that. But you need to also emphasize the enormity of terminating one's life and what follows afterwards and all of that. And signpost that person to places where they can get support. And like I've said,
mm,
this anonymous free support line 116-123. The Samaritans, they're incredible. It's free. They understand is the work they do. Or call Pieta House. They also offer free service 1-800-247-247, or just text help in capital letters to 51444. Somebody confide in a trusted person, confide in a partner, a
mm,
trusted friend. The problem is that people think, "Oh, if I tell them, I'll become a burden." The things you
mm,
should avoid doing, the people think that, "Oh, when I tell somebody what I'm going through, I'll be a burden. I don't want to bother anybody." Now, that's a very erroneous thinking. Lastly, the things that you need to avoid doing is challenging the people.
mm.
"Oh, come on, yeah, stop fooling. I dare you, try it."
Ah,
Or people be like, "Jesus, you want to kill yourself?"
oh my
And
God.
then you know what I mean? There's that thing. God
Mm,
forbid. By the time that is happening, somebody's already going through a lot.
Mm,
Don't ask what one of the things I'm going to say is this. Don't
mm,
make them feel guilty. You know you're going
mm,
to hell when you if you do, you are rather going to fast track those things. And I'm saying this because I'm a believer.
mm,
And I know what happens in some of these circles. So let the person know I am worried. I am scared. Whatever. I'm here. Talk to me.
mm,
How can I help? What can I do? And if you think that there, so and then lastly, I said lastly, but lastly, this ask this, and this is very important. Are you considering committing? Are you considering harming yourself?
mm. Okay.
How long has this been going on? Have you acted on this thought before?
Mm,
Have you acted on this thought before in the past? Do you have a plan?
mm,
You should ask.
mm,
We therapists, we ask, do you have a plan? Now, when you ask the question, pause, listen with empathy. You say, yeah, okay, tell me, what's a plan do you have? The moment they say this, you know that there's an imminent risk. There is a difference between suicidal thought and
mm,
suicidal ideation
mm,
and being suicidal.
mm. Yeah.
Suicidal thought is that you having once in a while you have this thought in your mind. Suicidal ideation is that you are beginning to formulate the plan. Like yourself, people are reading online, they're finding they're having the idea and formulating it. Suicidal is what the person might be attempting. So ask very plain, direct questions. And if you say, I have a knife, I have this or that, get them away, get them away from that, stay with them. At that point, call the ambulance, call the guards. They've been trained to support people like that as well. Call somebody there. Don't leave your friend, don't leave your partner and go anywhere. Stay there. But if you're far away and you're not around them, ask them, is there anyone with you? If not, is there any trusted friend I can call to come and stay with you? And then call for help.
Wow. Wow. Okay, wow, you have over answered that question. Thank you so much. I think you've kind of worked through the mind of, someone that might be, thinking of, doing this as
Mm,
well. I really appreciate that. And I just hope, as you're watching this, you've gained one or two things, and these information, they would, be life-saving for you. I will try my best to put all the some of the information, like the numbers to call for help and things like that, in the description box, and also how to reach Craig as well. I will try to find the link to his book as well and put that there so that you can access the help. Like he said, you need to get help. You can't do this alone or in isolation. So we'll leave it at that for now. Thank you so much for coming on and speaking to the community. We really appreciate it. And I'm really sorry to hear about, the loss of your sister. We
mm.
just pray that God will continue to comfort the family. Okay,
Thank you.
so we'll just leave it there for now, and we'll see you guys hopefully. Well, I'll see you guys next weekend. Okay, make sure you like this video, make sure you comment and subscribe to this channel if this is the kind of content that you would like to see again. Okay, take care and stay safe. Bye.